Greetings, my friends! Today we will examine which animals are a good idea if you want to turn a quick profit in your farm. We will not go into which ones sell or not. We will suppose that you have a way to sell them. So we will just examine the ease of production. We also do not include any weird animals like in some countries they made dogs or weird birds or just unusual animals. It's just the usual ones, like 9 of the usual ones. Or horses. Some countries they eat horses, which is fine, but we're just examining like 9 of the most standard things you can raise in a farm. I also wanted to mention that this is a tier maker, and we're making a tier list, and that's kind of funny if you know what tier means in German, because in the German language, tier means animal. So the Tiergarten is the animal garden. It's the zoo. So I thought that's kind of funny because we're making tiers with tier animal, putting animals in it. Yeah, I'll see myself out. So to begin with, we will start with something that is in the D tier for making a quick profit in a farm, and that is cattle. You may find this strange that I chose cattle for the D tier, but remember, this is about making a quick profit. The problem with cattle is that they don't multiply that fast, and that's because every cow gives birth to one male or female a year, and that means that half of them will be male, half of them will be female. So growing a cow herd doesn't go so fast. So every year you will, if you're lucky and everything goes perfect, you will grow the cow herd by 50%. You cannot grow it any faster. Now the reason why I'm taking into account so much the breeding speed, let's say, the multiplying speed of different animals, is that the biggest expense probably in breeding animals in most cases is the breeding stock, because that's the parents basically of what you're gonna use to butcher and sell as meat or produce from. And the breeding stock has this very simple problem. The problem is that you need to feed it and maintain it and pay whatever expenses it has all year long. You pay and you feed it all year long just so that it will produce something once a year, maybe in the case of cattle, that's once a year, that it will give birth to another cow or bull. And that's a big strain in your economics. Now, of course, you may ask, why do a lot of people then, raise cattle? And the reason for that is double. One is that beef is in high demand always and everywhere. So people like beef, they love beef, and they love it everywhere. So you will sell your meat. And the other reason is because, in a lot of cases, the people who do that, they have big ranches and they have a lot of land. So the cattle can graze there. And even when it's winter and they cannot graze there, the farmer already has made a lot of hay from that grass. So in many cases they can feed the cattle for no money almost. Now in the C tier we will have goats as well as sheep. The reason why those are in a higher tier than cattle is because instead of one extra goat or sheep, they actually make an average of 2 per year. So that means that if it's 50% male, 50% female, that's 1 male, 1 female a year. So since every female makes another female every year, that means that every year they double in number. Because remember, the breeding stock that matters is just the females. So building a flock of goats or sheep is an awful lot faster than building a herd of cattle. It's actually twice as fast. Still, the goats and sheep don't go any higher in the ranking because they still take quite a lot of time to increase in numbers so that it becomes a viable business with a large production that you can start quickly. You cannot start it that quickly. You still need many years, depending on how many head is your initial breeding stock, of course, but it still takes many years. In the next tier, we have ducks and geese. So these are waterfowl. They're a bit different between themselves. The ducks, they basically eat a feed which is similar to chickens, so they need grain. But the geese, they do not necessarily need grain. They are actually a grazing animal. They can survive exclusively on grass if you want them to. And that is great, that is amazing. The reason why they're at a B tier is that they reproduce with eggs. And even though they don't make too many eggs, although there are duck breeds that actually do make quite a few eggs, but let's say that, let's take a low estimate, which is that a duck breed you have, which of course depends always on the breed and also on the genetics of that particular bloodline that you got, because in the same type of breed you can have different results. So let's say you have a duck breed which makes 60 eggs a year, let's say conservatively, and then you have a goose breed which makes 30 eggs a year. That may not sound so much in terms of eggs, but it's in terms of new persons, new animals, it is actually a much higher figure than you can get from goats, sheep, or cattle. So that means that you can, from one female duck, you can get 60. Like if you hatch all of them, if you have 60 eggs and you hatch all of them, let's say you hatch 50 of them, then you get 50 ducks. That's quite a lot. And with geese, maybe you have 30 eggs, maybe 25 of them hatch. So that's quite a lot from one mother. The reason why they don't go any higher with such a high production of offspring is because we're talking about production as a whole, and of course the breeding stock's efficiency in multiplying is one parameter, but the other parameter is also the processing, and of course a cow or a steer, like some kind of beef cattle, has a very difficult processing if you slaughter that animal. But the thing is, you get a lot of meat as a result. With ducks and geese, you have a very, very difficult processing method, and that's why very, very few farms even bother with commercially producing them. You can produce a few of them for your family, but for commercial production, almost nobody does that, and there is a good reason for that. It's too difficult. It's very difficult and time-consuming. And the thing is, if you want to spend so much time, it's good if you get a cow and you get so much meat. You get like a ton of meat. But with ducks and geese, you spend a lot of time processing, which of course costs money in labor if you pay people to do it. And then you get very little meat in return. So for that reason, it's in B, even though they can reproduce really, really fast, basically as fast as you want them to reproduce. Within a year or two, you can have as big a flock of ducks or geese as you want if you hatch the eggs. But the processing is difficult. So in the next tier, which is the A tier, you have chickens as well as rabbits. And the reason why those two are better than ducks and geese is, to begin with, chickens, they make more eggs than ducks and geese. And what is more, if you make broilers, for example, if you do broilers, which is chickens, male chickens that are intended for eating, for becoming meat. So if you do that, then you can hatch all the eggs that you want, and a chicken can make even up to 1 egg a day almost, depending on the breed, of course. And then the processing is a lot easier than ducks and geese. It's very easy to defeather it, which is the tricky part with waterfowl. Waterfowl have a different type of feathers, They are very difficult to, defeather because their feathers are designed to withstand water, so they've got a double layer and they're more resilient and they've got some kind of substance that makes them waterproof and all that stuff. And that makes them more difficult. But with chickens, with broilers, you can just throw them into a plucking machine, a plucker, and it removes all the feathers. It just spins and removes all the feathers in like a minute. If you, first put them in hot water, which you need to do anyway with ducks and geese as well. But they're very easy to defeather, so production can go very fast when you process chickens. So they're very viable commercially. Plus, of course, maybe I don't want to go into sales. We start with the assumption that you will be able to sell them. This is just the production, but I just mentioned that everybody eats chicken, so they're also very easy to sell. And then we have rabbits, which are not as easy to sell, but production-wise, you can make rabbits very fast because they make multiple births a year, and every birth is, let's say, maybe around 10, little rabbits. So if you get 10 little rabbits from one mother, and it can happen easily 5 times a year. It can happen more, but you will completely exhaust the dough then. But if you get a total of 50 rabbits per year, that's quite a lot. It's something similar to geese, for example, which make eggs. But rabbits give birth, so you don't need to hatch anything or something like that. It's a lot easier, and also the processing is super easy with rabbits. It's extremely easy. So the whole process of production goes very fast. Just keep in mind that there is a thing called the rabbit famine, and I'm actually going to make a video about that at some point. Just don't make rabbits your nutrition model for a long time unless you can supplement it with some kind of fat, because we need fat, and if you eat just rabbit, you will starve even though you eat meat. It's a weird thing, but it historically happened many times in history, and it's going to happen to you if you do that. But yeah, if you cook them in olive oil, for example, that's a great workaround. You will have no problem. So the first tier, the super tier, the superb tier, is turkeys and pigs. And there is a reason why turkeys are one level higher than chickens, because they share the same attributes as chickens, and which means that they're easy to process, and they also make a lot of eggs, so you can multiply them really fast. You can produce a lot of turkeys in this way in a year. And the other thing about turkeys is that the reason why they're one category higher, one level higher than chickens, is that they can eat actually a lot more grass than chickens. So they're more economical, production-wise compared to chickens. Chickens, they can eat up to 20% of their nutrition as grass. So 20% of their nutrition can be grass. With turkeys, that goes up to 50%. So for every kilo of turkey meat, you can spend less money and you can let it graze more grass instead. So that makes it more efficient. And the other thing that makes it kind of more efficient is that the processing of a turkey yields, it's very similar to a chicken. It doesn't take too much more time, but it yields a carcass which is significantly bigger. So the production time and effort goes down per kilo of meat that is produced. And pigs, of course, they're also the ultimate, production unit, let's say. And what is great about pigs is that they can give birth. Well, normally they can give birth 3 times a year if you want them to, but you shouldn't do that because it will totally exhaust the sow. And normally you should just do it twice, but that means that if they give birth to 10 piglets each time per mother, that means 20 extra pigs per year from just one single mother, which is incredible. It's crazy for an animal of that size. Just imagine that cattle, like you have 100 cattle, you'll have 150 next year. You'll have 100 goats or sheep, you'll have 200 next year. females, that is. So you have 100 sows, you'll have 1,000 female pigs the next year. 1,000 sows. So it becomes 10 times as many mothers as you had in the first year. That's a crazy, crazy rate of reproduction, especially for such a big animal. And what makes the pig even better for making, a quick profit in a farm is that not only, everybody eats pork, almost everybody, only some people don't eat it for religious reasons, but most people do. And the other thing is that with pigs, you can save a lot of money because you can use byproducts of other industries to supplement their feed. So you don't need to buy all their food. That means that you can go to a place where they make apple juice and get the pulp from the apples or whatever fruits it is that they make juices from and feed it to the pigs. You can get that for free or maybe for just almost no money and feed it to your pigs, and that's totally fine, and they will love it and it will supplement their nutrition. Or you can go and get from a brewery, you can get spent grains. That they make beer, or then they make whiskey, whatever, and the spent grains that have little nutrition in them anymore, you can get them for free or almost for free, and you can feed them to pigs, and they will be very happy about that. Or similarly, you can get produce that is not sold. You can get places from a farmer's market that they didn't sell and they throw away. You can get that and feed to pigs. If it's, of course, it's not rotten or anything, but many times, people throw away things that pigs can easily eat. You can get things from restaurants, maybe, if they, separate the good stuff from the not so good stuff. But yeah, you can get leftovers from restaurants and feed it to pigs. And especially if your pigs have a clean environment, access to sunlight, and they can dig around, and they have grass to eat and other plants that they can root out and eat, that will produce amazing meat, and it's going to be really worthwhile. And so I think in the very top of all of them, because pigs are big animals and the processing is easier, even though of course the raising does have its difficulties, but electric fencing has solved a lot of that nowadays. But because they're big animals, the processing per kilo of meat is a lot less than if you process a small animal. So if you have to choose one of those things for a farm where you want to make a quick profit by starting from point zero, pigs are actually an excellent option. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Feel free to let us know about your experiences with raising animals and making a profit out of it. And until the next time, take care and be well.